This episode of Tekzilla is sponsored by Netflix and GoDaddy.com. Coming up on this episode, Roger's replacement is here. We got a full-time co-host, why HDMI might not be the best way to get your gear connected to your HDTV. We're going to talk about saving YouTube video for posterity, and we're going to travel in time to when high-end portable audio consisted of two glorious 4-inch woofers, a stereo tuner, and a tape deck with auto reverse, of course. Kick back, grab some munchies, and get yourself ready, because Tekzilla starts now. Welcome to Tekzilla. I'm your host, Patrick Norton.
And I'm Veronica Belmont.
Are you the new co-host?
Surprise! Are you all totally surprised?
I can throw the horns now, right?
Yeah. The double horns. How do you do the double horns?
That's when you rock so hard you need
this?
two hands.
Rock on.
Exactly. Not only do we have Veronica Belmont, but we got a great show lined up for you today, including the age-old question of when is it better to use something other than HDMI to connect something to your HDTV, like maybe VGA or DVI.
Really?
We actually have a special someone in the studio, a guest, to answer that and a couple more of your HDTV questions. You excited?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Are you excited about being the new co-host?
No, not so much. Meh. Of course I'm excited.
Uh-huh. How about a viewer question?
All right. This being a viewer question-driven show, let's see who takes out first spin. The first email comes from Luke. He writes in with this. Which MP3 player supports a lossless codec and outputs the highest quality sound?
Oh boy.
Wouldn't we all like to know?
Luke, it's a great question, and it's kind of like, we should probably start with what lossless audio is. In case we haven't talked about it enough, lossless audio is when you basically take, we had a big stack of CDs.
You take a CD.
Behind the monitor.
There they are.
Oh.
Lossless
It's like
audio.
Christmas.
Well, usually, all right, you got an MP3, an AAC, a WMA file, and it does an approximation of the track, right? So basically, it does psychoacoustics, which approximates the way your brain works with your ears to hear sound, so that they can remove audio from the track, and you think it's the same thing. That's wonderful. Lossless, whether it's WMA, Apple Lossless, FLAC, Monkey's Audio, which is an APE file. I like seeing .ape. That's the best extension of all time. Basically, still does compression, but saves all of the original bits. It's like a smaller version of the PCM file you find on a CD.
And audiophiles love them.
Audiophiles love them. I love them. And it's because basically you get all of the music. That's the theory there. It's when you take all of the music versus the various lossless file formats versus which player sounds the best that everything goes to hell.
It's all in its purest form, because once you get a file that's compressed to high heck, I mean, the sound quality just kind of goes out the window.
Well, it's, you know, look, if you're happy with your 128K encoded MP3s, enjoy them. Be happy. Problem is, when I listen to a 128K MP3s, I hear, you know, cymbals that sound like frying bacon and not like a cymbal. You hear guitar chords that are mushed together. It's just, it's a little strange, right? So, okay, so you go to a lossless. If you're going for the Windows Media Audio or WMA lossless, buy a Zune. Apple lossless, buy an iPod. And the Zune and the iPod both sound really, really good, I think.
What? Really?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the iPod doesn't really sound that great.
Depends on which
I have
iPod.
an iPod, but...
Are you using an iPhone or like the iPod Classic? Or
well, currently I have the iPhone as my primary MP3 player.
The iPhone's kind of, I think, a step down from the regular classic iPods.
And then if you want to go even further down the crap hole, it hits to like the Shuffle and the Nano are famous for having kind of noisy
The original Shuffle was pretty good. The original, remember the white Shuffle that had like no display on it?
I don't agree with you.
Really?
No.
I can fight you on that one.
All right.
That was
fight to the death.
Where are the swords?
Dun, dun, dun.
There'll be none of that.
Sorry.
I'm going to see you and see a chipmunk.
But the Cowan players, they support FLAC.
They support FLAC, and a couple of them actually support Monkey's Audio too. And then there's the iAudio X5 has FLAC support.
Yeah, I think so.
People tend to like them. One of the things you can do if you do want to get sort of better audio output, whether you're working with a Zune or an iPod, apparently you actually are ready to move to the Zune, judging from your distaste for the iPod.
No, I like
quality.
the iPod. I do like the iPod. I do prefer the Zune's twist navigation. I think it's kind of neat.
It works pretty well.
But yes, I am an iPhone user.
Well,
so I'm trapped forever. All my files are only playable on the iPod.
Oh yeah, that's something we should get into, is converting files from format to format can be a wicked,
that can make a whole show.
Ripping pain in the tuchus.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to do it over and over again, Yeah, let's talk about that another time.
All right. When we come back, the best way to sync files on one PC with another PC, HDTV questions galore, and saving YouTube video. You know, for that posterity we were talking about.
I like that thought.
It's time once again for our weekly tech accessory pick, where we share with you that one gadget, gizmo, or device that makes our lives just a tad bit easier. This week's pick is Husky's 8-in-1 precision screwdrivers. Whether you call them jeweler's screwdrivers or precision screwdrivers, they're a necessary tool for dealing with the teeny tiny screws found on all kinds of consumer electronics, especially notebooks. Unfortunately, a lot of the sets out there are poorly made with handles that tend to fall off and tips that bend and strip. That's why we like the Husky 8-in-1 precision screwdrivers you can find at Home Depot. A tick under $6 and you get 000, 00, 0, and 1 Phillips along with 1/16, 5/64, 3/32, and 1/8 inch slotted sizes, or a Torx set with T4 through T10 tips and a T15 tip. The handle is decently constructed and stores the tips you aren't using. This is as cheap as those box sets that fall apart when you use them, except these don't fall apart.
Although file syncing between desktops is a somewhat pedestrian affair, we've gotten more than a few emails about it. So we yanked two that represented everyone's concerns. The first one comes from Mike, who writes in, I was wondering if you have any suggestions for a program that will allow me to copy folders between my desktop and laptop with relative ease that is Windows XP compatible. I just want a program that will run when I click it and transfer/update my audio and video cast between two computers on a LAN. And the second email comes from Rick. I have a home server, desktop, laptop, as well as a flash drive I like to take to work every day. I would like to be able to not only sync all my latest podcasts onto the flash drive for work, but also make sure certain files are in place on both my laptop and desktop, as well as backed up on my server. Do you know of any solutions, preferably cheap, to my problem? Yeah, syncing on Windows with Briefcase, most people avoid.
Yes, because it's old, it's archaic, and actually I don't think they've updated. You know, I've kind of slimmed down a little bit. Oh wait, I'm Roger, just so you know.
Oh hey,
it's okay.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. Thanks for taking my spot.
You're welcome.
Now, it's interesting because it's a question that we often get, but not a lot of people think about because, well, it's file syncing, big deal. You use a thumb drive, copy it on there, and move it over and copy it back.
That's a pain.
It is a pain, especially if you're dealing, especially like, for example, work, you're dealing with multiple Word documents, Excel spreadsheets. You know, sometimes you get kind of confused. You copy the old stuff, but not the new stuff. And then you come home to work, it's like, oh, I forgot it, or I didn't copy the right ones over. You just want something, you know, boneheaded, simple. You just press a button and it's done. Now, the good thing about Microsoft is after Briefcase was still included in Windows, they actually came out with a separate toy called, or actually a gadget device application called Sync Toy. That's why I call it toy. And it's actually kind of cool. It's totally free, and essentially what it allows you to do is to sync files between two different machines. Now, the good way to really do this is to actually have it on a network. Preferably one where you can see both machines, and actually have this running up right here. Simple, have it. Click Create New Pair, and all you have to do is select and isolate the folders that you are the folders that you want in that particular machine. So in this case, the left folder, I will make this personal machine. I will make it the sync folder. Click OK, and right folder. This would be another machine on my network that if I could see, but I cannot. So I will just use my thumb drive because that was also mentioned, a USB drive, which is actually a very smart way to move stuff. Removable drive, and click OK. Next. And now you see I have all these multiple options. Synchronize, echo, subscribe, contribute, combine. Very confusing.
What's the difference between echo and synchronize?
Synchronize will do new and updated files are copied both ways, and renames and deletes on either side. I'm basically reading this off verbatim because, you know, I'm that talented. It's on either side. Oops, sorry. And echo essentially just does the same thing, except that it will not do. It will not do, oh yeah, it will not be repeated on either side. Oh, it's actually I'll repeat, I'm not sure. In any case, all I ever really use is contribute or combine because I don't like deleting stuff, even old stuff. People like doing that. I don't because I'm paranoid about stuff going away that I might need because of taxes, because of expense forms. I got to turn that one in. And you know, dozens of other reasons. But SyncToy is not the only solution out there. There's another one. This was actually clued into me by a viewer not too long ago, actually 6 months ago. It's called Always Sync. It's also free. Cool thing is they have two versions. They have one that you can download on your individual machine, and there's one that you can download and install on a thumb drive. So you just plug in the thumb drive to whatever machine you want, you double click, launch it, and it pops up. So again, you select the different documents that you want on one machine. In this case, again, I chose for the other machine my thumb drive. Now, if I want to change how it's synced, I just merely click on change, and then I can see propagate deletions, propagate modifications. So let me do an analyze. It's going to analyze all the documents that are on my that folder as well as on my thumb drive. And it's going to show me, I'm going to just pop this up a little bit bigger, show me what I can move or what it will move, and it'll basically telling me these folders do not exist. So I say, no, okay, you know, I think I'll let me synchronize. Bug me about not being able to ignore because it's seeing a bunch of massive changes. Then I can synchronize. Now it's just basically going to start copying stuff over. Now the great thing is, once you get it working, it works pretty darn well. I was doing files between this and my my laptop here from my home PC, and I was going back and forth. It was doing a pretty spiffy job. Now, if you want to do something that's cross-platform, or you just want to deal with the USB key, but you don't have these machines networked locally, you can do this through, believe it or not, another Microsoft product. Usually I'm not, ever since Vista, I haven't been a big fan of the Big M. Big M, jeez. They actually have a product called, it's called the Windows Live Folder Share. So funny. I'm going to sign in. And essentially what it does is it creates kind of this virtual sync mechanism online, and you can sync either personal libraries or you can sync things to share with other people. You have shared libraries. And then, of course, remote access. If you want to give, say, a client or something some sort of access to files that they need, say like you're a graphic artist and you're creating, you know, their logo, they can go and get it without having you to set up a special folder or anything. And it's really easy. Once you set up a sync folder, this is actually synced with my Mac. You just basically log in and you can sync out the folders that you want. So if I have a folder on my desktop, again, folder sync, and then one on my Mac, and they both contain, you know, the files that I want to sync, it's going to look at them and say, okay, I'm going to start copying this over, I'm going to start copying that over.
So it does it automatically?
You can set it to do automatically, or if you're paranoid, you can do it.
Yeah, I'm totally paranoid. See, I wouldn't want to give someone access to a Dropbox and then maybe by accident they put some kind of, you know, virusy software in there, and then it just automatically downloads it to my machine. That wouldn't be good.
Yeah, but see, that's where the human trust comes in, and that's one of the. Yeah, I mean, that's always a possibility, and it's a possibility with anything. You know, if I give you this USB drive and say, hey, you go borrow it.
I don't take USB drives from strangers.
But you collect like 8 of them from CES.
I don't know what you're talking about. You know what my favorite part about coming to conventions like this? Getting all the press kits on the little USB flash drive so you can then, you know, wipe clean and use for yourself.
Anyways, yeah, no, these are great solutions. Now, the thing to remember, though, is that even though they're automated, they do require you to kind of make sure and eyeball. Because sometimes, and this is often what I do, I mislabel files because I'm in a hurry, and when it syncs it doesn't always sync the way I want it to because I mislabeled the files or I didn't see them. I didn't see them. I didn't notice them that I changed or did not change the file names. I get kind of freaked out.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, you should definitely always be cognizant of the things that you're doing, especially when syncing, because I've lost content that way quite a few times. So, bottom line, try any of those three out.
Try any of them out. But if I really, you know, it's really bizarre to say this. I actually like the Windows Live folder share.
Not all bad.
And the thing is, folder share is actually in beta, so it works well right now. So when the release version, I can only say, cross your fingers. All right. Well, anyways, Veronica, I think we need to actually help to pay for all the new stuff that we're getting for the show.
Oh, all the new stuff. I'd like to take this moment to give a shout out to one of our sponsors. It's time now for our Netflix sponsored movie pick of the week, and this one comes from our very own PA Serafina. This week's pick, Metropolis. One of the first sci-fi movies ever made, this 2-hour silent film was released in 1927. Set in a dystopian future of the year 2027, not too far off, it tells the story of a society that is starkly divided between the workers who live underground and the upper class who live a life of luxury and ease. That is, of course, until the workers decide to revolt. You'll see the influence of this seminal film in more contemporary films like Dark City, Blade Runner, and even a couple of the Batman Netflix. So if you enjoy a sci-fi and want to see where it all began, check out Metropolis. Plus, we'll be setting up a thread about it in the Revision 3 forum, so after you've done watching, tell us what you think in the forum thread. And don't forget, if you're craving movie rentals without driving to the store, check out Netflix.com. With over 90,000 titles online, including Blu-ray titles, you're bound to find the title you're looking for. Plus, with 40 shipping centers, almost all deliveries happen in just one business day. And shipping both ways is free. Plans start at $4.99, but as a Tekzilla viewer, you can get a free trial by signing up at www.netflix.com/Tekzilla, Tekzilla.
Welcome to this week's freebie download pick, a free program we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. Today's selection, CCleaner. CCleaner is a lightweight and fast Windows registry cleaner and optimizer that removes old temp and cache files, plus deletes personal and private information cookies that your web browser stores when you surf online. The interface is broken into 4 categories: the cleaner, registry, tools, and options. Cleaner does the obvious. It removes all the unused and temp files while also deleting personal data like cookies, browsing, and whatnot from your history. So if someone ever comes across your PC, they can't see what you are looking at, whether it's a website or a document. The registry category analyzes Windows registry and cleans away unused, obsolete, or inconsistent entries. Perfect if you've uninstalled a lot of applications. And if you're worried about doing any permanent damage to your registry, fear not. CCleaner actually offers a backup and does it right before any changes are made. Tools lets you select and remove startup programs, as well as providing you with an uninstall interface to remove installed applications or their entries in the Windows Add Remove option. Perfect for those really pesky applications that just don't want to go. Finally, Option handles the user preferences for how CCleaner is run. If there are areas you don't want it to clean, don't want to check, or just want to save certain sections, check the appropriate box. So, if you want a simpler and less complicated way of cleaning out your Windows machine, give CCleaner a try.
Our next set of questions require a little more insight than Patrick or I can provide, so we reached out and gave Robert Heron from PC Mag and DLTV fame a call. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
My worlds are colliding.
Indeed.
It's kind of freaky.
We visit each other frequently.
So are you ready for some questions?
Shoot.
All right, Scott has a couple of questions about HDMI and VGA. He writes, I'm using a Samsung LCD HDTV as my primary monitor for my PC. Should I connect my PC through the HDMI port with my DVI to HDMI cable, or should I go to the VGA input, which appears to be dedicated for PC usage? Also, should I use the Mad Catz HDMI adapter instead of the component output from my 360 if I go VGA with my PC?
Awesome.
That was a mouthful.
That was. There was a lot of stuff going on there.
So what do you think?
Well, I took a look at the TV, the specific TV he has. It's a 40-inch Samsung, and it offers true 1080p resolution, 1920 by 1080 pixels. Generally, those TVs will allow you to then use the digital input, namely HDMI, and get a full pixel-for-pixel match from the computer. So ideally, that's going to be the best way to go for the PC. You're going to lose one of your HDMI ports, and if that is a problem, you can always go to the VGA, but because it's a digital input using HDMI, you're going to get better clarity and better presentation of the image on the screen. And because it's a 1080p model, you won't have to deal with weirdness like overscan of the image, where you'll lose the border of the picture due to just oddities in how the display is projecting its image. Now, there will be a setting you'll have to deal with within the TV itself to eliminate that overscan, but it's real easy to find and it's real easy to set up. That would be how I'd connect the TV to the computer to the TV itself. Now, as far as his Xbox 360 goes, he's currently using, I believe, he's either using VGA output. It's an older Xbox, I'm taking it. So he's either using the VGA adapter for it or the component video adapter. That's going to be the best way. I've looked at the Mad Catz product before, and I've consulted with some of my gaming experts as far as the console side of things goes. It turns out that that original Xbox is actually outputting an analog signal. So even if you've got the Mad Catz adapter, all it's doing is an analog to digital conversion for you, whereas every HDTV will do that automatically just by using the connections that are provided. So you're not going to gain any image quality benefit by using an adapter product that would convert that externally, that analog signal, to digital. So the best things to do in that case, well, if you can, use the VGA input on the TV, because odds are it will take a 1080p input from the Xbox 360 for all content, be it upscaled DVDs, which normally you can only do 480p with the Xbox 360, and component video output. And for all of your games, you'll be able to run those at 1080p as well. So that's where I would stick there. And what was that third part? I'm already...
Let's see. So we got, no, the 360 was the last part, I think. Unless you missed something in the middle. Well, The PC? We got the PC, right?
PC part, stick with your digital inputs. Essentially, stick with the digital. Don't use converter products. And in the case of the 360, you're probably using component or VGA. Stick with those. Those will provide your best image quality.
Very cool. Excellent. Very sound advice. Our next question comes from Anthony. He wants to know, can you recommend a TV tuner box for a widescreen display, 1680 by 1050 resolution on output? I want to buy a tuner card or box for my PC, but I want optimal display for my new 20-inch widescreen LCD. Thoughts?
Well, any tuner card product that you put in a computer is going to put an image on your screen, and the video card will take care of that scaling. Regardless of what resolution the channel you're watching is or the program you're watching, the video card's going to take care of making that look right on your television. So you really don't have to worry about a resolution of the display versus the input of the signal and all of that kind of stuff. You're really just looking for a good tuner card at this point. I really like what ATI is doing. Their 650 series of HDTV tuner cards provide very sensitive tuners. So if you're dealing, maybe you're a long distance from the towers that transmit the signal, it will help pick those up. If you're dealing with multipath reflections or other problematic antenna style environments, that will help a lot. There's also there are plenty of terrific HDTV tuner products out there right now, and that was one that came off the top of my head. Recently looked at a new product from Elgato, the guys that do Mac software and Mac related tuning products. They actually have one now that connects into your home network, so that anywhere you have a connected network connection for all of your computers, you can run some software and then look at the received television program that way. It will also work online as well, say like Slingbox would, which is really cool.
Really convenient.
Yeah, and of course, if you're running something like Media Center or whatever, you can usually tie those cards right into that software as well, so you don't have to load up any additional software. Yeah.
Excellent. Are you feeling okay? Do you want to maybe take one more question?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I'm on a roll.
All right, our final question is from JR, and it's a two-parter. So
Okay.
I guess that's actually kind of two more questions. So bear with us.
Okay.
You'll be okay.
I can do it.
I wanted to ask about your suggestions for an HDTV for my dad. He's looking for a 37-inch model in the $1,000 range. He wants to make it part of a home theater system. Additionally, you could talk a bit about the differences between getting HDTV over the air versus through your cable satellite provider.
$1,000 for a 37-inch panel is a terrific, you have a great budget. That's not a tight budget to work with. You have a lot of options. You can go online to somewhere like, say, Amazon.com, type in 37-inch LCD. Boom, you're going to get a ton of great
He
great
doesn't even
products
really
you can
need
choose
to look
from.
for a budget model.
Not
in this
really.
case.
First of all, I'd consider if you can fit a 42-inch in a model into that space, you would probably want to consider that, because $1,000 you can find some models out there that are in that price range, namely your Westinghouse, your Vizios, terrific values right there. But if it has to be a 30-inch screen, pretty much any brand is available to you at this point.
The world is your oyster.
It is. And some of my favorite
TV
LCD
world.
companies are going to be like Sony. Sony for color. They do color better than anyone right now. Sharp also delivers exceptional contrast, really dark black levels, really bright picture for a good value. So I'd say those would be my top two picks. You can find several models within those categories that will fit that budget. And other than that, in terms of the differences in what the programming is you're going to receive, well, over the air is digital quality as well as, well, it will be come 2009
Right, exactly,
when the transition
changeover
happens. And everything will be digital at that point. But for right now, you can either use the integrated tuner in the TV or an external box product, actually satellite, and some cable boxes actually include built-in over-the-air tuners as well. Essentially, you're going to get similar image quality with all three. I would say in my own experience, I've found that cable and satellite deliver slightly more compressed viewing quality in terms of it looks a little blockier, it's a little less detailed than you would get from over the air. Over the air really has no bandwidth restrictions, so you can deliver that full quality HD signal, which is about 20 megabit per second.
Is there any kind of interruption with the signal when you're going over the air?
Can be.
There can be.
I've seen everything from somebody operating an appliance nearby that's causing electrical interference that causes pops and stutters in the signal, to just oddities. It could be the weather that can, determine how good or not your signal is and how consistent that reception is. Ideally, you would want, if you're going to do that full time, you really want to consider getting a good antenna, an overpowered antenna that would either sit on the roof or somewhere where you have the best line of sight you can to the towers. Now, there's some great websites out there for looking up that kind of information. What channels are available to you over the air, or what antenna should you use for a particular situation. Antennaweb.org is a terrific place to go. You can just type in your zip code. It gives you a map. You click on where you live. It tells you what channels are available, what antenna you're probably going to need in that kind of situation as well. However, like here in the Bay Area, most of us have line of sight, unless you're living in a basement somewhere,
True.
to a great set of towers. We get
Or a
about
hill.
30 or 40.
Or if you're living in a valley,
yes.
would that cause some trouble?
You could have some problems. That's where it becomes more dependent on the quality of the tuner itself in terms of picking up those channels. But
all right.
as far as selection goes, I would say if you want the greatest selection of HD channels going, I've looked at lots of different programming options for different carriers, and I'm finding the satellite guys in particular, the DirecTV folks, seem to be offering the most.
Very sage advice. Thank you very much, Robert. Thanks for coming in. And for more Robert, you can check out his articles at PC Mag and also the show at dltv.com. All right, so before we go on, I want to take a minute to thank one of our sponsors that makes this episode possible, GoDaddy.com. If you want to make an impact online, do it with GoDaddy.com. .com names as low as $1.99, plus world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and much more. Plus, enter code TECH1 when you check out and save an additional 10% off your entire order. Some restrictions apply. See site for details. Get your piece of the internet at GoDaddy.com. Support us by supporting them. It's time now for a website we can't get enough of, a site that's too funny, too useful, or just too good not to share. Today's website pick, Pocket Calculator Show. If you have fond memories of 80s pop culture, then you owe yourself to visit Pocket Calculator Show. This online museum is dedicated to documenting the awesomeness of personal audio, pocket calculator, and nerd watch technology from the late 70s and 80s. The site is grouped into 5 gadget categories, including nerd watch, calculator, and my favorite, boombox. Hit one and you'll begin your magical mystery history lesson of all things bling to geeks back in the day. Plus, with a relatively complete timeline on the genre, as well as highlights on rare and must-have models, you'll be in geek heaven. And if you're hardcore enough to be a collector of these fine 20th century artifacts, the site also includes a forum where you can trade gear, swap parts, and share tips and stories about your boombox, nerd watch, Walkman, or pocket calculator. PocketCalculatorShow.com. It's part time machine, part museum, and all geeky fun. All right, Patrick, ready for some questions?
Absolutely. First up, Scott wants to archive Flash video. He writes in, could you show us how to capture video from YouTube.com? Okay, Scott, we can do this.
That is a very popular question.
Why is
in
that?
the online video world? You know, because people want to keep them around for, you know, reasons. I don't know. I wouldn't know. Posterity, I wouldn't know anything about that. Yeah.
Just in case it disappears? Uh-huh. So what do we have here? Let's find something that won't get us sued.
Good luck.
Good luck.
How about that Madonna video? That seems like an excellent choice.
Previously popular, top favorites. Tekzilla. Actually, do we have Tekzilla on here?
Who would want to watch that? I don't know.
Filthy, nasty Tekzilla. Hey, look, somebody reposted Pimp Assassin.
Oh, this is so meta.
Thanks for reposting our video, you dog. We'll hunt you down and kill you. All right, so we got this, right? You want to talk about some of the websites that do this?
Right, well, there are a bunch of different websites that you can use. Vixie.net is one of my personal favorites. It converts the video right into formats that you can use, like MOV, WMV, what else do they do? AVI, that's another one. So you just plug in the URL of the video, hopefully the most direct link you can find, and it works mostly with YouTube. I've had some issues trying to get it to work with other embedded Flash sites. And then you choose which format you want to use. We can do, yeah, let's do MOV. It's been a very Windows-centric show so far. I need to feel the little Mac love here. And it sometimes takes a while for the video URL to resolve. Because
it's actually going to like copy it, re-render it, and download it to your desktop.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty cool.
It's intense. I'm not sure how this thing has stayed up for as long as it has, but it's managed.
Technically, it's not doing anything illegal.
How is it technically not doing anything illegal?
Well, it's just a tool for parsing video. It's like a VCR.
Ah,
or
yes.
BitTorrent itself.
KeepFit is another really good one. It's kind of the same kind of theory. You click the download button. You can you choose different sites other than YouTube?
This actually just pulls down. Well, actually, no. It'll do FLV and an MP4. I like how it's like MP4 high quality, but the reality is it's going to be, you know, a re-rendered FLV file.
And then you can just save it to your desktop from there.
You're going to need FLV player to play an FLV file. My personal favorite for this is a Firefox plugin called Video Download Helper, and it installs this little gadget up in the corner here. And so if I'm on the video page, it basically gives me a list of everything that's on. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. There we go, Tekzilla Daily Tip.
So it shows all the available media that's embedded into the page?
Exactly. And look at that, and there we're downloading.
And a lot of people don't use this or think about it as much, and it doesn't really work for YouTube videos, but if there's an embedded video, like a QuickTime file on a website, if you're using a browser like Firefox, you can go into Tools, and then Page Info, and then the Media tab, and then you can usually scroll down until you find the .mov or the content on the page and hit Save As, and it will download it automatically.
So like a right-click Save As?
No, there's a Save As button right there by Media Preview.
That's so cool.
So that doesn't really work for Flash videos, or you could, I guess you could download the FLV, but you know, I don't think that works as much for embedded Flash.
Now I want to go to the QuickTime trailer site. Let's not do that. Let's go to the next question.
Don't sue us. Cool. Our final email comes from Blaze in the great nation of Slovenia. Blaze?
Blaz?
I'm hoping it's Blaze, because otherwise I'll feel bad. He's interested in picking up a new video card and asks us, what is the best graphics card for a reasonable price, like ATI Radeon HD 3870 or NVIDIA GeForce 9600 GT?
Okay, so it looks like he's got the sort of $200 price range there. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. For gaming, both are low end, depending on whether or not I'm a $400 graphics card kind of guy, which obviously you aren't, or if you're a $200 graphics card kind of gal, or an SLI. Basically, those are both actually really good cards for around $200. If you're looking at, I'm going to pull up my cheat sheet here because I can never remember the model names otherwise. Like somewhere around 150 bucks is the dividing line. I'm actually going to look at the right camera too, just for fun. If I mention I have the flu, yeah, I'm going to sneeze now. It'll be fun.
That's all right. Well, there are more. There's a higher quality. The 9600. There's a higher version of that, right?
Yeah.
The GTI, I want to say.
Well, I'm going to keep it focused because otherwise I get lost with all the extensions.
I'm waxing.
One of the things to do though is like be really careful when you're buying. It doesn't matter if it's NVIDIA or AMD. They all have like very subtle variations on the 3-letter extensions on the names, and if you're not careful, you can really get skunked, especially when they're end of life and the prices haven't dropped yet. If you're looking for something like under $100. It's barely going to play a lot of the modern games, but it's going to be heaps better than the onboard graphics that came with your system if it's got like Intel integrated graphics, and also does really good video decoding, which would be great if you're trying to play big fat H.264 videos. The Radeon HD 3650. I'm never going to remember that without help. And man, you've really got it. The 3850 and the 3870 are basically the same core with a different clock speed. Those have pretty much been beaten by the GeForce 9600 GT for around $200, and the GeForce 8800 GT is going to give you a little bit more, like maybe, you know, you're looking at like, depending on the game, like 61 versus 71 frames. The 8800 GT is going to be a little bit faster, a little bit better performing than the 9600 GT in that price range.
So those are some good suggestions, for sure. And especially if you're trying to buy or trying to build your own gaming PC. And I mean, that's not something you want to skimp on, though.
Well, it depends on, like, there's gaming, like, you know, if you know, Robert Heron was on here before, and like, you know, Robert laughs at anything that's not like a $400 state-of-the-art graphics card, but that's his thing, right? For me, I don't need, you know, HD resolution gaming off my computer. I'm just, you know, playing around with stuff. You know, if you need absolute top of the line, send us an email, Tekzilla at revision3.com, and we'll talk about the top of the line graphics cards. But for the $200 price range, because that's a lot of money, right? You know, and as always, make sure you've got a processor that's pretty stoked. And if you don't have a Core Duo processor feeding one of those, it's probably not worth upgrading to that graphics card. You probably want to wait till you can upgrade the graphics card and the processor, and make sure you at least have a couple gigabytes of RAM on your system. Because if you don't have much RAM, or you don't have a fast processor, a fast graphics card, not going to help you that much.
Yeah, and those kind of upgrades are going to start getting into the more spendy area of the spectrum.
And suddenly you need another motherboard.
There you go.
And it's like motherboard, processor, RAM, and it's painful and traumatic. Which is one of the reasons why console gaming is so popular. We got a question for y'all. What have we not been covering on the show that you want to see? Do us a favor, email us, Tekzilla at revision3.com. This is an all viewer question shows, tech help, product reviews, how-tos. You ask us, we'll do it. But we need those viewer questions. So send them in to Tekzilla at revision3.com. Can we tell them where the forums are?
Yes, the forums are at revision3.com/forum. Pretty easy to remember.
Even I can remember
do say so myself.
Speaking of forum topics, don't forget to check out our movie pick discussion. This week, our pick is Metropolis. Yes, that oldie but goodie from the early 20th century. Get into a friendly argument or a raging flame war. Do we encourage flame wars? I thought we didn't encourage flame wars.
No, they're pretty awesome.
Go to flame wars?
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
You're scary. Go to the forums. Get into a flame war with Veronica.
I feel so bad that you're so sick. You better not be like this all the time.
No.
I'm freaking out of here.
Yeah, I don't want to be
these
near
conditions.
me either.
Yeah, and plus you can find previous episodes of Tekzilla. They're waiting to be rewatched at revision3.com/Tekzilla. And you can find out more details on the site.
I like that thought. Coming up, we got digital SLR questions. You had a question buying digital SLRs. Where should, you know what, we got a ton of good stuff for you coming up. And we got our resident expert, or I should say CNET's resident expert on cameras and buying cameras. It's going to come in and answer your questions. And you know what, we got a ton more of your viewer questions. So do us a favor, tune in and check it out. We want to thank each and every one of you for watching the show.
Until next time, you've been watching Tekzilla.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Good night.
Bye. Who am I? You don't know. Who is it? Oh, it's me.
Free program that we find useful, fun, or oh, wait a minute. Scroll back. I said week twice. F me with a goddamn hot dog. 3, 2. Welcome to this week's freebie download pick.
Sorry, that was just a really striking and terrible image, Roger.